What's up, everybody? Y'all know what it is. This is Tuesday night edition of the Allen Powell Show. Got a locked and loaded show for you tonight. MLB Opening Day is Thursday. The Final Four is set on both sides, men and women. Meek Mill is telling Robert Kraft that Lamar Jackson wants to play for the Ravens. We're going to get into all of that plus more, so let's get ready to lock and load, people.
Allen Powell. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. It's the Allen Powell Show. Where we lock and load. Come on.
Thank y'all for tuning in to another edition of the Allen Powell Show. We are going to get right into this show. But before we do that, I got a special guest in the building. You can catch him on the it's a long name, Early Sports Talk. Oh my goodness, I'm messing it up. Hold on. Let me get it together. Let me get it together because it's the longest name in history. It's the longest name in history, but I'm gonna get it right because I got to introduce him right. The Early Morning Sports Talk Podcast every Saturday morning, the best morning show. We got Mr. Ian Jones in the building. Thank you, brother. I think you might be on mute. I can't even hear you, man.
Let's see.
There you go.
Okay.
Ian Jones in the building, a.k.a. Rod Tidwell in the building.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, bro.
Yeah, man. I had to get that name right. That's the longest name in history. But catch him every Saturday morning with the fellas, Jamar and Brandon Price. Every Saturday morning. It is the Early Morning Sports Talk Podcast. Catch him on all platforms, and you can catch him there. Man, I want to get right into this show, man. I want to get into this Lamar Jackson news because apparently all of a sudden he requested trade. It was breaking news, but apparently he did it back on March 2nd.
All right.
What are your thoughts about him? It's just now being public now that he requested a trade, but it was back on the 2nd. And then the Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on the 7th. What do you make about this timeline and how all this stuff came out?
I feel like he brought that information out, to show everybody that, he's been, of course we know he's been not happy, but, he's been asked for a trade a long time ago. And I guess he just wanted to clear some things up with all the speculation going on. And, I guess he felt like everybody else speaking for him. So, he had to speak for himself.
Right. It's crazy. So they knew this on the 2nd, and then they put the franchise tag on him. But this whole time, Lamar Jackson has been representing himself. And to me, it seems like he don't all the way know what he's doing. I don't know if you get the same thing. He don't have an agent, and to me, it just seemed like he's all over the place as far as what information he wants to bring out, and how he's sharing it. The agents usually do that. They work behind the scenes, talk to different teams and things of that nature. Do you think this process would be better if he had an agent?
Yeah, almost like it's pretty much the same thing as like going to court. They always say it's better when you have a lawyer. Now you may do all the work, behind closed doors, but if you don't have that lawyer or that face,
Right.
to represent you, then a lot of people don't respect it. Now I see it from both ends. I can understand, Lamar feeling like, I don't need an agent because I can do all this work myself. But on the other hand, it's like they not really gonna respect you and respect your terms just because you don't have a lawyer, which is not a lawyer but an agent. Same thing, which is unfair. But you know how that goes.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: do you think it's a possibility that he's trying to get out of that percentage or whatever he has to pay the agent? He feel like he can just do it himself. Like, you know what? I'm not. And he didn't think it all the way through, and all of a sudden it got ugly.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. That's definitely possible. You get to keep a heftier amount of the check. When it clear, it just come all to you. So that's a good thing. But in his case, I feel like maybe he should, hire an agent, and basically he gonna tell the agent what to do and what's his terms and what he don't want and what he want. So I'm hearing that him and his mom is basically working the contract negotiations. So they can just basically tell a lawyer like, look, this is what we want, and you go tell him that, and he just be the so the messenger.
Right. If I'm correct, I think the agent only get like 3%. I mean, I know that's a big amount compared, the money they making. That's a big amount.
Yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
is it that much to, say, oh, I don't want to pay that. I don't want to pay the 3%. I'll just do this much. If it was you, would you have an agent, or would you say, I don't want to pay that 3% either?
Man, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm on the fence with it.
Okay.
In his position, because I've heard I've heard other players say they didn't have an agent. Like, for instance, like Richard Sherman. I've heard Richard Sherman come out and he negotiated his own deal, but I mean, he hasn't had no deal that's this big. You know what I'm saying? So, and this deal is gonna set up the next quarterback. You got Joe Burrow coming up, Justin Herbert. All the young quarterbacks that's coming up that's due for a new deal. So it's almost like brotherhood. They just keeping the bar going, but it seemed like the NFL and the owners is trying to stop at Lamar and this Deshaun Watson, this contract that Deshaun did set. He didn't set the bar to a new level, him and the Browns. So would I have a lawyer if I was Lamar Jackson? I think at this point he should. If he what I'm saying, he want to get the deal over with, and he feel like he want to stay in Baltimore, I will hire a lawyer. But in the background, he basically gonna do all the work. Just had a lawyer, he just be the face for it.
Do you think it's too late to get a lawyer at this point? Because I mean, he's long in the process. Like, can a lawyer? I mean, an agent actually come in at this point? It would have to be somebody he already familiar with. He can't get a new agent and start all over. Like, what do you think about getting at this moment? Is it too late?
I mean, it can be late, but it will if he hires an agent, it will have to be somebody maybe a big name or maybe somebody that's respected. But it is kind of deep in the game. They've been going through this for it's contract time and it's time to re-up, and they've been going at it for a while. So it's kind of deep in the game. So maybe he just feel like, he too deep in now. So ain't no turning back. He just got to keep going, but how they've been moving. So, I mean, he could, but it's tough. It's a tough situation. It's a tough one.
We got a couple of comments checking in. Jamar Goodman says Lamar has been betting on himself to the fullest for the good and bad. He'll have to see this through one way or another. Then that's what I kind of feel. Now he's so long in the process. Now it's like I don't think he can get an agent, or he's going to get an agent at this time. And he got to go. He got to see it all the way through. At this point, he can't fold. He can't fold now. Like, you done did all of this. Like, now you got to go ahead and go the whole mile.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you say, he didn't fought this hard and this long. So now it's like, ain't like you say, ain't no turning back now. He got to keep going with it now.
Miles Sauce from YouTube checking in says Lamar gonna be on the Gary Gilroy Bears trying to represent himself. Hey, he got a point, man. I don't like the fact that he's representing himself. Not because I don't like people representing themselves, but I just feel like he's the type of player that I think he needs an agent. But let me ask you this. What's the difference between him requesting a trade and them putting a non-exclusive tag where they say if somebody offer you a contract and nobody matches, they're going to get 2 first-round draft picks? That's the same thing to me as a trade. So what does him requesting a trade do?
I mean, him requesting a trade, I mean, like you say, it's pretty much the same thing, but I feel like the Ravens did that to let him know, like, okay, basically, you probably not gonna get that money nowhere else out here, or get that type of deal that Deshaun Watson got. I feel like that was their purpose of tagging them and doing what they did.
Jamar Goodman said, "Do you think the Browns purposely gave Watson that contract to screw the Ravens up right now?" I think that would be the extreme conspiracy theory like that.
That would be deep.
Yeah, I think they just like, yo, man, we tired of losing. We'll overpay just to get us a quarterback. Off the field problems and all. We're gonna overpay because we're gonna get our quarterback and we'll deal with the backlash. I don't think it had nothing to do with the Ravens.
Yeah, I think at that point they were just over the Baker Mayfield. You know, they'd have been Baker Mayfield, Tim Couch, Robert Griffin III. We can go on about quarterback. I feel like they just tired, and you like, you know what? We gonna pay this young quarterback. He's 25 years old. Brown. We don't care what it costs to get him. We just gonna pay it.
Yeah, I'll say that. I was like, I think they said, hey, we don't care about the PI either. We'll deal with that.
Yep.
We know we're gonna have protests and this and that. They're gonna say whatever. But time heals all wounds, and and after a year or so, he gonna be back on the field, and people gonna forget. Brandon Price says, why is he representing himself though? Like I said, my only thing is he don't want to pay that 3%. That's the only thing I can come up with. I don't know. What is your thoughts on why he's representing himself?
I mean, besides the 3%, I don't know. Maybe he just feel like, I don't know. Maybe he don't want nobody stealing from him. We have heard, or kind of giving him the wrong deal, or not telling him all the information. I don't know. That would be my only thing about it. But besides the 3%, maybe he just want all the info and all the ins and outs of the contract. You know, most guys, they get an agent and it's just like, oh, you just handle it, and they don't really know what they signing. Then they get into the deal, and they might get a new agent, and you might go back and you be like, well, I didn't really negotiate that. My agent did. I didn't. I just heard the money. So maybe he looking at it from that perspective. But other than that, besides the 3%, that could be the only thing I could think of.
Another aspect I want to talk about is, and I've been listening to a lot of experts or analysts talking about the reason why you get an agent is because when they're talking to an agent, they're going to say all the things they might not like about you. But when you don't have an agent, you got to hear that face to face, and that's when the turning point happens. Like, oh, this how y'all really feel about me. He has to hear that from the team himself instead of them relaying that to the agent, and the agent might not have to say everything to Lamar Jackson. He can just bring back what he feels needs necessary. What do you think about that?
It's crazy. So my name was Rod Tidwell on my name was Rod Tidwell on Facebook, and this happened in the movie Jerry Maguire. He was basically telling them, when I'm in there negotiating for you, I'm on the limb for you. When they call you shrimp, I'm in there. That's basically what you just described. The agents, they go in there, they fighting for you, and all you hear is the good things that they say about you. Like, yeah, you MVP, took us to the play. Next year, you got to pay off pro, but you might not hear, he might be a little injury prone, or we might not like, some throws that he makes, or some of his decisions, or he doesn't protect himself enough. Or we might not just like him as a person or how he's moving off the field, even though he hasn't been in trouble or he's been a model citizen. But, you might hear some stuff you've never heard out of their mouths before just to not pay you.
Right. That's the thing. And I think I think he probably done heard some stuff that he don't like because it's getting uglier and uglier. And so I think they didn't have these conversations where they probably told him the truth about how they feel. And he like, oh, this how y'all feel? Oh yeah, get me up out of here, man. Get me up out of here. And so let's actually read this statement before I get back to the comments. It says, as of March 2nd, I requested a trade from the Ravens organization, for which the Ravens has not been interested in meeting my value. Any and everyone that has met me or been around me know I love the game of football. So looking at that statement and looking at this comment, Malsaw says, now what exactly is Lamar worth? What has he done in the past? This is the problem. When you say what's Lamar worth, it's all about setting the market. Once Deshaun Watson got that deal, everything went out the window. He's not looking about he think his worth is more than Deshaun Watson because he's comparing himself to Deshaun Watson. So let's look at what Deshaun Watson got. Over 30 million fully guaranteed. And when he got that deal, he got all types of off the field problems. He never been an MVP. What has Lamar done? No off the field problems. MVP of the league. So that would say, hey, I'm worth more than Deshaun Watson, and I want it all guaranteed. That's why. That's if you ask what exactly is Lamar worth, That would be his answer right there, Mal Sauce. That would be the answer. So,
Yep.
more back to the comments. Brandon Price, right? His injury past is definitely a big problem, though. Which one is worse, the injury problems or the off the field problems? If you comparing to Deshaun Watson, you see what I'm saying? I think that's the way he's looking at it. Like
Yeah.
MVP and no off the field problems. Listen, whether people like it or not, Deshaun Watson deal is the standard. Is
It's
the
the thing.
standard at this point. Let
And
me
you
ask you.
know,
Go ahead.
another thing too, I think Baltimore feel like, so let's go back to them drafting Lamar. So Lamar drops all the way to 31, 32 in the draft. Excellent player, excellent athlete. Maybe Baltimore just drafted him because he was the best, player available and not expecting him to be a franchise quarterback. Maybe they just expected him to be like a gimmick player, almost like a Taysom Hill kind of sense. But boom, Joe Flacco, that situation kind of didn't pan out. That kind of faded away. Here comes Lamar. Lamar comes in winning. Second year in the league, he goes and wins MVP. So now you gotta, and not only does he win MVP, leads the league in passing touchdowns. He has what about 10 to 15 rushing touchdowns on top of that. So you're talking about an MVP that they probably didn't expect to even have in his second year, not in his third or fourth year. We're talking about his second year. So basically, his first year starting the whole full season, he goes and wins MVP. That's pretty much unheard of. So they probably didn't even realize or probably figured that they would have to even be going through this negotiation with him, because they probably felt like, well, we'll just use him as a gimmick player, as an athlete, throw him in on a couple packages. But now he didn't turn into a franchise quarterback. So now you got to, I feel like that resentment is kind of in there too a little bit.
Brandon Price says off the field problems is better than not being on the field. You act like, oh, hold on. Brandon Price act like Lamar Jackson been out for a season or something. He missed some games. And look, part of the reason he missed some games because he wanted his money. He wasn't about to risk getting back on the field when he ain't get paid. So you can't look at it like a normal injury prone guy. It was some backstory along with that injury stuff. So it ain't just like, oh, he just injured all the time. Like, nah, he ain't get his money. He like, oh, could I come back? Probably. But should I come back and I ain't got my money yet? No, I'm not doing that. Mal Sauce says postseason MVP means nothing if they're first round playoff losers. In contract negotiations, MVP means a lot. Yeah, MVP means a lot. Now I get what you're saying. I know I get what you're saying about postseason, but when it comes to contract negotiations, they say my guy got an MVP. This guy didn't get an MVP. You know what I'm saying? So Brandon Price says, but that MVP season is so far away though. How far away is it? How far away is it? What?
That was 20. Was that before?
It was before in the league. It was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Like 2019? It was before COVID, so I think it was 2019.
So okay, he's 20. I think he's 25 years old.
Yeah,
and he won in his second year in the league. Yeah, you might, but probably 2019. Probably 2019. Yeah. But I mean, it's still on a resume. They don't take it off the resume because it happened years ago. That's a negotiation tactic.
Yeah, I mean
negotiations.
It's rare that any player wins an MVP on his rookie deal.
Right.
And my thing is too. See, we see this with a lot of teams. Like we seen this with Dallas with Dak Prescott a couple years ago. So these teams, they draft a certain player, draft a quarterback, and don't expect him to, rise to the occasion. When he rises to the occasion, I felt like Baltimore, after the MVP season, they just should have extended him a little longer, gave him a little bit more money, and then kind of prolong the situation and see how they want to play. But no, they let him play that rookie deal. They waited out and let somebody go break the bank like Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, and now you got to pay him or you're going to lose him. And then if you lose him, that's going to set your franchise back. If you don't have no franchise quarterback, that's going to set your franchise back 10 more years.
That brings me to my next question. And I think I've asked this before, but I haven't got the answer from you. With exactly what you just said, who has more leverage, the Ravens or Lamar Jackson?
Oof, that's a tough one.
Because based on what you just said, that tells me Lamar Jackson has a lot of leverage.
Yeah, he does, because I mean, like I said, if he decides to walk or they decide to trade him, that's gonna set the franchise back some years, and who knows how long that is? That could be a long time.
That
And I mean, they're not their defense is pretty decent. They got they got some nice running backs, but they've been injured a lot. The receivers there ain't really no receivers over there making no noise. The offensive coordinator needs to. I think they changed the offensive coordinator. I don't know, but the offense.
they did. Yeah, they did.
But that's gonna set their franchise back.
Brandon Price says the Ravens has the leverage. I believe they have. I believe they do have a lot of leverage because they can just simply just sit back. They don't have to do nothing else. They put the non-exclusive tag on them. If somebody want to negotiate, they still going to get 2 first-round draft picks. Or if you don't want to play, then. But I don't believe because they're not a franchise that's like, oh, we okay with rebuilding or starting over. They got that type of franchise. They're in win mode now every year.
Every year.
So I think that's where the leverage of Lamar Jackson plays in. They don't want to start over. They don't want to do that.
Nah.
Last question, man. How would this end? Will he get traded or will he be the starting quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens?
This is tough because I've been thinking about this all week. I think he'll eventually get traded.
Wow. Do you got a team in mind?
The only team I would have said Miami, but not now. Honestly, I don't think they could pull it off, but I would like to see him in San Francisco.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think they're going to
pull that off. I'm trying to think of a team that needs a quarterback and that doesn't really have a young quarterback or the quarterback they don't believe in. The Jets say they was out.
Yeah.
Carolina look like they drafting CJ Stroud or Bryce.
Yeah.
What Bryce? I mean CJ. I don't know, maybe Indianapolis, but
I think that's the team right there. They've been in the news lately with the Lamar Jackson news. Brandon Price says Atlanta, but it would be nice, but they act like they're not interested, like they sold, like they okay with Ritter. So
yeah.
But Indianapolis Colts, they got the 4th pick and they can't get the top 2 quarterbacks. I mean, Will Levis is talked about as going to be that 3rd quarterback, but I mean, if you got a choice, I believe Lamar Jackson is the
better. For sure. Ain't even a question.
Right. So let's see. Jamar Goodman says the Ravens without Lamar Jackson might as well start tanking for Caleb Williams. And that's what's going to end up happening if they have to start over. And Ravens was always looked at as a model franchise, especially when Ozzie Newsome was there. You know, everybody talks well about the Ravens franchise. This is the first time that it has gotten super ugly with a superstar on their team. Brandon Price says, and go to the playoffs every year. Just go somewhere in the NFC South and go to the playoffs every year. Yeah, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I want to get to another part of this story. Reports are Meek Mill is telling Robert Kraft that Lamar wants to play for the Patriots. The fact that Meek Mill and Robert Kraft, I know they like cool because Robert Kraft like came to his defense when he was locked up. Him and I think the 76 at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact that like it's like they homies now. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm trying to like see how this conversation went. And I was like, hey man, hey Robert, man, Lamar telling me, man, he want to play for you. Like, how does this conversation go? So I'm trying to, because I feel like Robert Kraft is down now. Like he cool with the, like I don't know what's going on, man. But do you think Meek Mill actually did this, or this is just a crazy story?
It could be capped, but it's possible. But I mean, realistically speaking, like the Patriots, they didn't even want to pay. They didn't even want to pay Tom Brady, right. So they definitely not gonna pay Lamar.
Exactly. It is like Tom Brady took many a discounts. Now they think they're gonna turn around and pay Lamar Jackson?
Right, almost $300 million. No, knock it off.
Not gonna happen. But the fact that this conversation or text message happened is funny in itself. Like Meek Mill is part of sports as he's working. Is he working the phones, not trying to get them to the pages? Like, man, this is getting out of control. But
Crazy.
it's going to be interesting to see how this play out. I think we will find out more if nothing happens by the draft. I'll be shocked because the draft picks that they want, I'm pretty sure they want them from at least one from this year.
Yeah.
So if don't nothing happen by draft, I will believe that he's probably going to play for the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it get, like you said, if it get too deep into the off season and close to training camp, and not let somebody brings them a crazy deal or something crazy happens,
right?
He might just have to play on the tag, unfortunately, or he'll probably, knowing Lamar, he'll probably sit out.
Man, and you think he'll sit out and miss that much money?
That's a lot. I mean, I was just gonna say that that's a lot of money to miss. That's a lot of money to miss. From my perspective. I ain't in that tax bracket, but that's a lot.
I think the last person that I remember sitting out was Carson Palmer. Is that the last person that I believe sat out?
Actually, he retired. He retired.
But he ended up coming back and playing again, ain't it?
Yep, he ended up coming back playing again. I requested a trade from Cincinnati.
Right.
No, I think it was Oakland. Oakland or Cincinnati. I believe it was.
I think he wanted to get out of Cincinnati, but he ended up coming back and playing for Oakland.
Yeah, I think he retired. He retired, and they wouldn't move him, so he retired.
That's crazy. And he wasn't. I don't think he was the age as Lamar Jackson was. He wasn't 25.
He might have been closer to. I'm 32. He might have been 31, 32, or 30 at that point. But yeah, he wasn't in his like third. No, he wasn't like 25 or nothing like that. No.
Let's move on, man, to the March Madness Final Four set on both sides. For the men, we got San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Miami, and UConn. I've listened to some news. They saying that the ratings have plummeted because they don't have any real big name schools in there. Have you been following the NCAA tournament, and what's your thoughts on the Final Four?
Yeah, I've been following it closely. Surprising is the word I can give you. I did have Miami going far.
Okay.
I didn't have them going to 4. UConn, you can never really count UConn now. It's always been a powerhouse as far as basketball goes, dating all the way back to the 90s, early 90s. The Florida Atlantic, that's the Cinderella story of the year. That's the Cinderella story of the year. And San Diego State, they've had a pretty good program, like low key, to be honest.
Yeah.
For maybe like the last 15 or 20 years, they've had a pretty good program. You know, Kawhi Leonard's come from there. The coach of the 5-5, he just stopped coaching there like a couple years ago. And I think the COVID year, they only lost 2 games that year because of COVID. They couldn't, there was no tournament.
Yeah.
So kind of like their redemption, and they kind of just got it done. Got to the Final Four with the brand new, actually.
Yeah, and I was looking at their record, like they had a great record, but because they are a smaller school, it's like they don't get that much respect. But we also got some local talent on Florida Atlantic. It's a player from Gary who went to a Gary school. They call him Cobb Nelly, but he played for Florida Atlantic, man. And so I know a lot of people around this area is rooting for that team. But I watched San Diego State play a little bit more than everybody else, and they look. I hate to say it, but they look like they might. I feel like they got a chance to take the whole thing. And I know everybody is rooting for Florida Atlantic, but San Diego State looks like the real deal.
Yeah, they look legit. They look legit. I was shocked. I was shocked to see Florida Atlantic get this far. I think everybody. I know I was pulling for Alabama, but it got knocked off. And it's crazy. It was no number 1 season at Elite 8. That's insane. That's insane, bro. That's insane. It's not even a number 1 seed in the Final Four. Not a number 1 seed in the Elite 8. That is insane.
Yeah. They said that the transfer for portal had a lot to do with this too. All the teams that's in the Final Four has some transfers that's in there. So the transfer portal has like turned everything upside down. It would be crazy if Miami and Florida Atlantic would be in the finals too in a battle for Florida. That would be crazy too.
Right, right, right. I mean, I can see the transfer portal doing that, and I think we might see this a lot going in, not even just with basketball, football, and I don't maybe baseball. We're gonna see it a lot. It's almost like college sports is turning into like pro sports, almost like free agency.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's go over to the women's side, man. We got LSU, Virginia Tech, Iowa, and South Carolina. I think this is more, I would say, more predictable, but you still got some stuff to watch out for. Cause that girl from Iowa, I heard her name mentioned with Steph Curry. Like
Yeah,
she's a hooper. She's a hooper.
you
But
got to.
I'm always rooting for Don Staley. She was my favorite player as a WNBA player, and I love her as a coach at South Carolina. What's your thoughts on the women's side?
Uh, it, this should be the. To be honest, the women's Final Four is always like great. Like it always turns out great. Like if you tune into women's basketball, you turn into the Final Four. Is always great. I know they kind of get overshadowed because of the men, but it never disappoints. So with this, LSU they've been dominant all year. South Carolina, she's just turned that whole program around. They've been dominant for the last couple years.
Yes.
Um, as you stated, Iowa, they have the young lady. She she is magnificent. I forget her name, but she is
Yeah.
magnificent. Shoot from anywhere.
Yeah.
And you got another team in Virginia Tech. You know, these women they can play. They can play. They are no slouches.
Yeah. So I look forward to seeing that Final Four. We also have MLB opening day this Thursday. Baseball season is here, and baseball has made a lot of changes and trying to keep up with the other sports. We in this microwave generation where everything is quick, and they're
Hmm.
finally adopting a pitch clock for the pitchers and for the hitters. They can't be lingering around. The batter can't step out the box, touch every part of his body before he step back in the plate. You know, the pitcher can't step off the rubber, throw over to first base 8 times. I think he only can do it twice. So
Yeah.
MLB is adopting some new rules. Do you think it's going to help with viewership of the fans?
A little. You have to be honest with baseball, watching it on TV. You have to be a real true baseball fan, and I think just because the game is slower than all the other sports. It's not really no really a lot of contact. It's like real technical, so you have to be like a real true baseball fan to be into it. But I think it'll help a little bit, speed the game up and
Yeah,
kind of make it quicker because sitting there watching a baseball game, it could be a little draining and it could get a little boring. I'm gonna be
yeah,
honest. But it is a difference from actually sitting in your living room to actually being there. Like actually being there is a little, is a little better.
yeah.
But it could get a little boring at times. Now the playoffs is a different thing. Now playoffs is a little more interesting. It gets wild in the playoffs. I
It
will
is.
say that.
I think the pitch clock is gonna help because like I can just see myself normally watching baseball. I'm going to fall asleep somewhere during the game. Like, but if you got this pitch clock on, it's like, yeah, okay, now I'm almost forced to stay in tune because something might happen now. I don't
Yeah, you
have to
might.
worry about all the shenanigans with the pitchers or the batters trying to play head games. You know, the hitter if the pitcher take too long, he's stepping out to make everything reset. Like
Yeah.
all these mind games can't get played by both sides. Let me ask you this though: who do you think has the advantage with the pitch clock? Does the batter or the pitcher have the advantage?
Mm. Honestly, I would say it's pretty equal. Like you said, I mean, you can't really play mind games on, say on either side. You just gotta pick a pitch. How you gonna pitch it to them, and you just gotta go.
Now, in the preseason or spring training,
Okay.
a lot of people still say the pitcher has the advantage because even though they got, I think it's like 20 seconds or something like that, the pitchers will sit there and just stare at the hitter for 15 of those seconds. You know what I'm saying? And so they can still try to play a little mind games. They just can't get crazy with it now. So you know what I'm saying. But it's going to be interesting. Jamar Goodman says, I think it will be a marginal shift in viewership. Baseball is a long ways away to be appealing to the younger generation. I think similar marketing to the NBA will be a good start as far as featuring the players more.
Yeah.
I also, that's a great comment too. To that point, I think they have to have more showmanship. You know, the bat flips and you know the antics after hitting the home run. Instead of getting punked by the pitcher, it needs to be enhanced. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The pitcher don't get mad because he took you out the park. Pitch better. And matter of fact, when you strike him out, you do your crazy stuff too. I remember Antonio Alfonseca from the Florida Marlins used to go crazy when he got a save or a strikeout. Like both sides need to do it. Show some what you call it, personality. Show some personality to get people in. They need somebody to market. You know what I mean? Because they got superstars, but they not getting marketed.
Yeah, I mean, even you go so far as back as Carlos Zambrano, he used to go crazy after strikeout. He used to go. I mean, I agree with that. You know, maybe they can, you know, do like the NBA or do like the NFL, like have different months, like, you know, Veterans Month or, you know, something like that. Just try to switch it up, you know, anything. Maybe new cameras or maybe show a new view like the NFL do. You know, they got the cameras where they run into them and celebrate, you know, things like that. That'll probably like you more appealing.
And you see, they try to adopt the you know how they give you insight on a basketball. They show the coaches where they give you inside conversations in the huddle and stuff like that. The MLB tried to adopt that with infielders, and they have conversations during a live game. Now I don't know if that's the best thing to do because that ball hurt. Yeah, if they ain't concentrating, but I know they're professionals. But I'm like, yo. But they've adopted that. But and then even the NFL, they adopted the celebrations. You know, they let them celebrate now. They encourage it. I think MLB need to jump on board and do the same thing. Like encourage celebrations, pitchers and hitters.
Yep. I mean, get social media more involved, like the NBA and the NFL and college football and everything. They got to try all avenues, you know, to keep up at this point.
And then you got Shohei Ohtani, this big superstar, pitcher, hitter. Like he need to be in some type of commercials or something. Like where's his commercials at? Like he need, man, because if you think
he needs to be, he needs to be the LeBron of baseball right now.
And I remember Ichiro when he was the biggest thing going for his country, but I think Ohtani is surpassing Ichiro, and so they need to market him crazy.
He looked like he's gonna be the next big thing, and you know, China's it's a huge country.
Yes,
so they need to push him to the forefront for sure.
Other than that, what are you looking forward to as far as the MLB season? Is there anything in particular you looking forward to with the opening day coming?
Just to see the home teams are going to be, you know, how the Cubs are going to come out, the White Sox. Anxious to see that those infamous Yankees, you know, they always in the mix of things, but you know, they somehow always let everybody down.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to the Cubs' new additions, Dansby Swanson. See, you know how he fits in. I still think we a year or two away. The White Sox losing Jose Abreu. How are they going to rebound? It's going to be real interesting on both sides of town. So, opening day Thursday, I would definitely be tuned in. We'll probably try to get to a couple of games this year. But yeah, opening day Thursday. I can't wait to see it. Before we get up out of here, I got my scripture of the day. It's actually Proverbs 18:22. I got my anniversary coming up this Friday, and so because of that, I chose Proverbs 18:22. It says, "He who finds a..." Now, a lot of people read this scripture and they heard as they say, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing." But I went to the Amplified version because I like this one better. It says, "He who finds a true and faithful wife finds a good thing and obtains favor and approval from the Lord." So it ain't just finding a wife, but it's great when you have a true and faithful wife, because you can have a wife and she can be untrue and unfaithful, and that ain't no good. So pay attention if you want to look at this scripture in the Amplified version. Proverbs 18:22 Amplified gives you a little bit even deeper meaning of finding a wife and finding a good thing. My anniversary is coming up, 16 years in the game. I found my true and faithful wife. So
Bless
happy
it, bless
anniversary to my wife. Yes, thank you, brother. And for people who looking forward to getting married, here's a little scripture for you, and there's plenty more where that came from. But that's my scripture for today. Mr. N. Jones, my brother, I appreciate you jumping on with me, man.
Man, appreciate you having me. Great show, man. Great show. I got to come back on with you and chop it up with you again for sure.
Oh
for sure.
man, no doubt, no doubt. Y'all make sure y'all catch him every Saturday on the Early Morning Sports Talk podcast. Early, bright and early, they get your day set, and they gonna make it. They gonna get your day started. So, with all that being said, we gonna catch y'all next week. We are out.
Peace.
Low Allen Pants. It's the Allen Pants Show. But we not